Welcome to an inside job, war on addiction. And I believe that is what we're going, we have to attack. That's what I'm trying to say. We have to attack this thing, but we have to have more focus. Talked about it last week and probably a week before with Chanel. But anyway, I'll proceed. I want to thank LATV, Carl, Jack, Jane, Robert, Alan, and Bradley. These guys, I say it every week, but I have to. These guys are great. So it's a half-hour show. It might be shorter today. It's live, which means there's no editing. I'm Ron. I'm your host. And as I said, the show's geared toward the epidemic we are facing with addiction. And this is a quote from a Dr. Gabor Mate, and he is the best for me, best book ever written. His knowledge is amazing. You know, I've been sober a long time, and I read some stuff, but this guy. He's number one in my book. He works in Vancouver, Canada, downtown, east side, and man, you wouldn't believe it. The name of this book, and he has a few others, in the realm of the hungry ghost. I never explained it, but I found out that the hungry ghost is a Buddhist term. And it is these beings that have very small mouths, so they can never get enough to eat. And so that's why he picked it, I guess, because, excuse me, as an addict, and this is my experience as an addict for myself. There is never enough. There's never enough, and that's the way it was. In relation to alcohol and drugs, but in other things. One in particular, my addiction to sweets. It's such a compulsion, and I've been working on it for 33 years, and it just beats me. I do good for a while, and then something triggers it, and I'm off and running again. And it's ugly. It's ugly, because when I go off, there's no halfway measures, and I make myself sick that I'm doing this, but I've tried anyway. Let me move on. So his thoughts, experiences on addiction. Biological, chemical, neurological, physiological, medical, emotional, social, political, economical, and spiritual. It's a very complicated problem. And it cannot be solved by a 3 to 7 day detox. As I have said, and in other episodes, they talk about it. But especially powerful episode 2, 14 and 15. 15 I got bagged, which I do for 50% of the time. Because for somebody to come on here and it's, it's all scheduled and everything, for a person to come in and spill their guts and that they of course, have never done this before, it's tough. And I imagine some people just blow it off, as well as it happened to me today. So, because it happened so much and this was scheduled, I came on to do it myself. I wanted to get something, as they say here, in the can, because I just want to keep doing this. So, I have questions that I have down here that I will ask a person that is sitting here. So I'm just going to do that for myself. Again, my name, Ron. How old are you? I'm 70 years old. Third question, what is your drug of choice? Name it, but not heroin. Name it. How did I begin? I didn't drink till I was probably 17. And I grew up. And I have to clarify something, just in case you happen to watch, I believe it was the last episode with Chanel. I, of course, watched it, and I was just telling a bit about growing up, the environment, and Dr. Mattei said, you grow up in it, and I believe it runs so deep. So I grew up in it. I was afraid of it. I watched a few of my friends get drunk, but I was afraid of it. Anyway, went to Hampton Beach, and Billy, who I went with, and by this time I had quit high school and just constant. When I picked up the first drink, which was 2 beers, and the sky opened up. Everything changed, and I never looked back for 17 years. So I started down there, and it was like a miracle. I wasn't liking myself, quitting school, not doing well in school for 8 years, Catholic school. School wasn't for me. I was a dreamer, and as soon as I was able to, I quit. Let's see. How long after that did I? Okay, what age did I know that I had a problem? I would say by 19. Started at 17, but by 19, I knew I was different from some people. I always wanted to have alcohol. Do all the stuff, and we're having a good time, a real good time with women, and I lost my point about clarifying it, so I have to do that real quick and put a point on this thing. Last episode, I was talking about growing up in the environment, and I said I had a pretty good childhood, both parents. My father worked hard. He worked shifts, though, and so we drank. But anyway, talking about it, that I had a pretty good childhood, the next sentence was, abuse, and abandonment. It just came out that way. I was meaning it to be something else. So I have to clarify that because it didn't make any sense. So by 19, I thought I had the problem. I knew I had a problem. I was starting to shake, and normal people don't do that. I said, "Where did you seek help?" I was going down the tubes quick. Vietnam, came back at 21. By 26 and a half, I'd lost everything, lost my beautiful family, all losses. And I just couldn't do it anymore, and that was my first suicide attempt. And that's where I didn't seek help. They picked me up, took me up to the hospital and even though I just committed suicide, they sent me over to detox. You know, PTSD, which I didn't know at the time. PTSD, alcoholism, the suicide, and they sent me over to detox. No shrink, no anything. And detox is very good for a person, but it has to be more than just detoxing. So that's where I was getting the first taste of AA because I didn't know anything about it. How many times did I detox? One. I went to that detox then, and I didn't like it at all. Actually, and this is back then, they took into my room one of the back days they call it bums. Now it's homeless, but they were bums and they drank. And this guy was bad, and he came in, and I said, "Get me out of here." So it was like 2.5 days, 3 days. So of course I left and I started drinking again. And I went into Narcag Hospital, detox, but then you stayed there. So that was, yeah. So the detox, staying there for 31 days, halfway house for 30 days, and then I was able to go back to the hospital where I entered and stay there. And cook. I lived upstairs and I cooked for everybody. I got to know everybody that was coming in, of course, plus the staff. And that was 1.25 years that I stayed there. So 2.25 years behind the walls of AA, but I never went out again up to this day. So it's been 35 years, half of my life with growing up in it from day one. Like I said, my father. My grandfather also, he lost his wife, and I just remember him on the porch up at the house and crying for his dog, but he drank wine, cheap wine. And so I watched that, and then so that was that. And then watching my father. I know I'm skipping around. This is, when I do this by myself, it is difficult. So I lost some point there. But like I said, I've been sober for 35 years. In May, it's going to be 36 years. I belong to a fellowship, a 12-step program, and I have been a part of that for the 35 years. And that, I believe, has kept me sober. And it's my experience in watching other people that I want to stay a part of the 12-step program, because I see when people turn away from that, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They get away from meetings. It's always the same. Getting away from meetings, thinking that they're cured, and they're isolated. They're isolated. Stop going to AA, and then for a million different reasons, and that begins that cycle. And there was a cliche, I guess, from the old days, and it was they call it budding, and that was building up to a drink. And so it can be a slow, quick, or slow building up to that. I believe, because they're at home with themselves, with their wife maybe. And I've also found that if one isn't going through this with addiction, they are not going to understand the deep part of addiction. They're not going to understand because they aren't going through it. And so it's really the only people that I deal with in my life now. It is my life. It is my core. It means everything to me, because if I get drunk or pick up a joint, which I love, the weed, 15 years of that, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going, and I'm going for another ride, because I've watched it for the 35 years. And it isn't pretty. It just isn't pretty. Like I said, I was bagged today, and I can understand. But I get frustrated. I schedule it, and that can be crazy sometimes. And then, first of all, I have to ask a person if they would come in and do this, and then I schedule it. And like today, no names. I understand. Waiting in the parking lot, and then I get frustrated, and then sometime in the moments when I get frustrated, or tonight, I say, that's it. It takes a lot to put on the show. Like I said, these guys back me up, and some of the people in the 12-step programs assist me, but I get frustrated sometimes. And, this serenity prayer, and I'm not a prayer man, but most of us love it in the 12-step program, and it usually is a part of beginning a meeting, discussion meeting, whatever. And I know a lot of you people have heard it. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I couldn't, I had to accept that I was getting bagged again. and I couldn't do anything about it. So I waited for 15 minutes, and then I came down here and started writing for the show. And as you are witnessing, I'm here. It's also the reason I keep going is I keep getting triggered by everything that's happening with the epidemic. And I did hear that Massachusetts, in last 9 months in 17, it was a 10% drop. And that's great. That's great. And it's just a long road. It's a very long road. An addict gets sober, put a year together, and clean, put a year together, and then again triggered. You know, I hear about it, I read about it. Somebody that I was talking to a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and somebody will say, you know, they OD'd, they went back out and they OD'd. I'm gonna tell you just a couple of things that I've witnessed in a few days. I was coming into the meeting yesterday, and Chanel was talking with somebody. I do want to talk about Chanel again, but I was talking to a girl, and I waved, Chanel waved back, and this girl waved, but I didn't know who she was. I came up close. I said, I'm not sure if I know you. She said, yes, you do. And she gave me her name. Now, this girl was a poster child for the 12 step, just a poster child. She was up in a program in town, a very good program, but it is for the person that's struggling with addiction, but with their children. 12 women in this program, and she was a star. And it must have been part of that was winter, because she would take the baby in the carriage down to the meeting, cold, whatever. Like I said, she was a star. But that was the girl that I met yesterday. And I haven't seen her for a while. I don't know if she lives in Leominster. But she went back out. You know, if there was 2 pictures of this person, what this did to her going back out, probably stopping to go to meetings, being with the wrong people. You know, in my experience, you have to change the people that you hang with. Because if somebody's smoking a joint or having a beer, and yes, I've been clean and sober for 5 months, a year, I can have one. But we're addicts, and we can't have one. Maybe we can have one that day, but in a couple of weeks, it's going to be another couple of beers, and then no holds barred, boom. And so there she was, and she had just either got out of court or out of the jail in town, and she didn't stay for the meeting. I hope she's doing well, because if she doesn't, she's going to be another statistic dead. So that's that story. That was yesterday. talk a little about Chanel again. We did two episodes with Chanel, and she was one of the people that wanted to come in and wanted to spill her guts and wanted to give us what she has been through. And that's what this show is about. Getting getting the stories and then dissecting it and talking about it, but to gain, for the people that are watching this, to gain knowledge, whether it's your kid or that you're struggling with husband, wife, goes on, and brother, goes on and on and on. So Chanel, the first show, 14, she had 1 year and 4 months put together, okay? And then 1 year and 4 months, and then boop, for a lot of reasons, but it turned out the same. And she did get away from meetings, and she was upset with somebody in the program. I mean, it's wild, and the drama, and you know, we're a bunch of very sick people. I know I was trying to get better. That's recovery. You know, that's the 12-step recovery, trying to get better. You get out what you put in, all right? So we all evolve through this thing at whatever rate that we choose. Because as alcoholics and addicts, we don't want to be told what to do. And we're going to do what we're going to do, that's for sure. And so she went back out 1 year and 4 months, was out there for about 3 weeks, I think. And I asked her to be, I got bagged last week, and she happened to be around, and she came in. So we got the story after. It's very powerful. A lot of these episodes, that's for sure. But this one is the top. She went out, and then she came back in, and she told that story. And I want to say that Chanel's doing well right now. She probably has a month put together, but she's hitting it very hard. She's at the meetings. She's making the coffee. I see her running all over the place. She's helping some people. And I told her yesterday, Chanel, you got to slow down. You got to pay attention. Excuse me again. You have to pay attention to what's going on with you. And again, she told a story. She went to the hospital for help. They kept her for 72 hours, and she really didn't get too much help out there, and she was shipped out the door with no home, because she was in a sober house. So, and they knew, no home, no money, no nothing. And that's part of the reason, one of the many reasons why people are dying. Insurance, they give you 3 to 7 days in a detox. And for getting a bed, I won't say the hospital, but getting a bed after getting into detox, you might be waiting 2 weeks, 3 weeks, calling every day. Can I get in? No, call back. No, call back. So what's an addict going to do, or what's a drunk going to do? He's going to pick up again in that time, because that's what we do. That is how we dealt with things. You know, for me, it was from 17. That's what I was able to do. You know, getting drafted, that's what I did to deal with that. I drank every chance I had, and I'm surprised they didn't. There wasn't a whole bunch, I guess, of 12-step in the Army back then. But man, I was getting in some trouble, and it went on and on and on, and then coming home and. We aren't focusing on this thing. We don't have enough focus. And we talked about it in the other sessions. We need more help. I was 2¼ years insulated with the program, and it was geared around AA and NA. But that's what did it for me. You know, there was 2 really good suicide attempts, and it didn't happen. I wanted out. I just wanted out. I had screwed up everything, but anyway, that's what it took for me. I'm not saying that's what it took for me, but it worked, whatever it was, in the halfway house. That worked. And Thanksgiving's coming up, and I remember my first Thanksgiving, and I was up to Narkeg, and man, it was a lonely day. I cooked the dinner, but it was one lonely day. But I went for a walk, and then it was over. And then Christmas, and that was over. And I was getting more time put together. I was feeling better and better. Okay, here's a couple of more stories, then I'm going to shut up. Yesterday, at the midday meeting, and it's a discussion meeting, which I like. I like the discussion meetings, and I'll give you a couple examples. There was a girl that came in, and she was in tough shape. I mean, tough shape, shaking uncontrollably, crying. When I first saw her, because we're friends, when I first saw her come in, I said, uh-oh. Anyway, she did speak. She told her story, and part of that was, and there was a lot of stuff going on in her life. No, I can't say that. A lot of stuff going on. I'll say caring for her mother, but the end result, she picked up a drink. I'm not sure about a drug. And I'm not sure how long she was out there, and she told her story between tears, but we were all listening very closely. In another good part of the 12-step meeting, or the program, as they say, there were people there, girls, comforting her, even during the meeting, and bringing her tissues, and talking to her after the meeting, and just, I'm sure that was her first meeting coming back. And again, it's tough. It's tough. So she spoke, and then another lady, who is a friend of mine, talked, and she has a year put together. And she spoke, and she said, Hugh, I said, she has a year, but she's going through some major stuff right now. And she said, all I want to do is drink. I want to drink. And she said to the other girl that spoke with the tears, and said, you helped me out so much. And that's recovery too. My poor friend that went out, but she was able to help this girl. I don't know how she is today, and I don't know how she is today. I have a good feeling that Chanel's doing well today. I hope the other girl comes back, is doing all right. I can't say it's a crapshoot because it's our choice. It is our choice. And most of us know where we're going. We know where we're going, and we don't want to pick up the phone. I've sponsored many, many people, and I would say, if you think you're going to pick up a drink or a drug, just call me. Even if you're still going to pick up a drink, I'll come over. Of course I wouldn't drink with them, but and it was the same thing every time. No call. They said the phone's very heavy. All the people say the phone gets heavy. In their mind, they already picked up the drink, but it was like that over and over. Like I said, we're sick. We're sick people trying to get sober a day at a time, grinding it out. I've been sober this amount of time, and when the stuff comes down, I don't think about picking up a drink. There's a lot of other things that happen to me, but I don't feel like picking up a drink. I've been sober this long, and it's gotten better, and everything has gotten better. Yeah, am I still sick? Yeah. PTSD, and the alcohols, whatever else is down there in my being, in my soul, is there, the addiction. It has gotten easier. I have been in recovery, like I said, and the physical parts are wonderful. I'll be down the beach for 5 months this summer, which is about 5.5 months away, and I can't wait. And I will still do some writing down there, but it's nice. It's nice. So, the money's all right. We have the house. We have another house and 3 cars and blah, blah. That's a physical stuff. But I have gotten better. All right, so I'll end with this. That anybody that would like to come in to get in touch with me, and if you want it, we'll talk first and see if it's on YouTube now, and I'm going to give you that whatever it is, but it is on YouTube. So knowing that it will be that, if you still want to come in, it could be a mother struggling with her child, and I just don't, she doesn't know what to do. Husband, like I said before, husband, struggling, but to come in and tell her story, or growing up as an alcoholic and just things not working well, to come in and tell that story. I have dedicated myself to this thing. As far as today, I want to keep going. I have a couple scheduled to come in, and we have it scheduled here. So So that's where I'm, oh, my number, 978, home is 978-537-7252. And my cell is 978-424-5992. To get the show on YouTube, just get on YouTube, search Lemonster TV, and then go to playlist. And, I hope you get something out of these. I know I am, that's for sure. So that's it. I probably spoke too long, but that's another wrap of an inside job war on addiction.